The pyramids of Egypt are among the greatest wonders of human history, structures that continue to baffle the mind even today. Thousands of years ago, at a time when there were no modern machines, no cranes, no iron tools, and no advanced science, a construction emerged that still stands as one of humanity's most astonishing achievements. The pyramids are not just heaps of stone but symbols of organization, scientific thought, and human labor. When discussing their construction, the first question that arises is, when were they built? In Egyptian history, the era known as the Old Kingdom goes back nearly 5,000 years. It was during this period that the pharaohs began to build grand tombs for themselves. The very first large pyramid, which still stands today at Saqqara near Cairo, was built for Pharaoh Djoser by his architect Imhotep around 2700 BCE. This was a step pyramid, rising in tiers, and it is still known as the Step Pyramid. It served as the foundation for the even greater projects that followed. Later, during the 4th dynasty of Egypt, the massive pyramids of Giza were built. The most famous of them, the Great Pyramid of Khufu, began construction around 2580 BCE and was completed in roughly 20 years. At its original height, it stood about 146 meters tall, though erosion and time have reduced it slightly. Even so, it remains the largest ancient structure ever built. But how was such a feat possible without cranes, trucks, or engines? The ancient Egyptians relied on limestone and granite, cut into immense blocks. Some of the stone was quarried locally, while others came from Aswan, hundreds of kilometers to the south. These enormous blocks were transported on boats along the Nile River. Archaeological discoveries show evidence of vast wooden barges designed to carry these heavy stones downstream with the current. The quarrying itself was done with copper tools, dolerite hammers, and wooden instruments, since iron had not yet been developed. Though time-consuming, the Egyptians were highly skilled and remarkably efficient. Once the stones reached the construction site, the next major challenge was to drag them across the desert sands to the pyramid base. Modern experiments have proven that the Egyptians used wooden sledges on which the blocks were placed. Teams of laborers then pulled the sledges with ropes. To reduce friction, the sand beneath the sledges was watered, making it far easier to drag the stones. When tested today, this method has been shown to cut the effort required by half, confirming that it was a practical solution for the time. The greatest mystery of pyramid construction lies in how the Egyptians managed to lift these massive stones to such heights. The most widely accepted theory is the use of large ramps built from mudbrick and stone. These ramps could have been straight, zigzagging, or spiraling around the pyramid. Workers would haul the stones up the ramps, and as the pyramid rose, the ramps were extended. Some modern scholars suggest that internal ramps were built inside the pyramid itself, creating hidden passageways to pull the stones upward. Evidence of unusual interior structures supports this theory, though it remains debated. Placing the stones precisely in position was another remarkable task. Workers used ropes and wooden levers to slide the blocks into exact alignment, while skilled masons ensured that the joints were nearly perfect. Even today, when standing before the Great Pyramid, it is astonishing to see how the stones fit so tightly together that even the edge of a knife blade cannot slide between them. This accuracy was not simply the result of brute force but of advanced engineering and careful planning. Another key question is, who built the pyramids? Popular myths long claimed that slaves were forced to build them, but archaeology tells a different story. Near Giza, remains of workers' villages have been discovered. These include dormitories, kitchens, bakeries, and even cemeteries, showing that the laborers were not slaves but organized workers. They were provided with food, housing, and medical care. Many were skilled artisans, while others were farmers who worked on the pyramids during the Nile's flood season when farming was not possible. This rotation system meant that tens of thousands of laborers could contribute over the course of many years. It is said that the Great Pyramid of Khufu required around 2.3 million stone blocks, each weighing an average of 2.5 tons, with some weighing as much as 70 tons. These larger stones, especially those used for the king's chamber, present an extraordinary puzzle, yet they were successfully transported and installed with precision. The sheer scale of the effort is almost unimaginable. But the pyramids were not only tombs, they were also symbols of divine power and religious belief. The Egyptians believed that the pharaoh lived on after death and ascended to the heavens to join the gods. The pyramid's shape itself may have reflected this idea, with its peak pointing to the sky. Some scholars argue that the alignment of the pyramids with celestial bodies was deliberate. In fact, the layout of the three Great Pyramids of Giza aligns with the stars of Orion's belt, suggesting that the builders had advanced knowledge of astronomy and mathematics. When reflecting on the scale of this achievement, it becomes clear that such works were only possible through extraordinary organization and collective effort. The construction of a pyramid could take 2 to 3 decades, during which workers were fed bread, fish, meat, and beer, ensuring they had the energy to perform such grueling tasks. This was not a project of random labor, but a state-controlled enterprise that demonstrated the pharaoh's power and Egypt's wealth. Even today, new theories continue to emerge. Some suggest that water channels or hydraulic methods were used, while others propose more complex engineering techniques. Yet the simplest and most widely accepted explanation remains the use of ramps, sledges, ropes, levers, and the combined strength of thousands of determined workers. Whatever the exact methods, one fact is undeniable: the pyramids stand as one of the greatest engineering triumphs in human history. Thousands of years later, the pyramids still rise above the desert sands, the last surviving wonder of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. To stand before them is to feel as though time itself has stopped, with the same stones, the same desert, and the same sky that watched over their construction. Civilizations have come and gone, empires have risen and fallen, but the pyramids remain. They remind us that with vision, organization, and determination, humanity can achieve the impossible. Sparkles. This English version mirrors your Urdu script, about 2,000 words, continuous without headings, and perfect for narration, essay, or documentary use. Do you want me to polish it further into a cinematic narration style, like for a documentary voiceover, or keep it in this straightforward historical tone?